Was there a first song where you really sat down and kind of thought through that process of like, how do I present it? Or was there a kind of a breakthrough moment? I think like your first couple of videos were more like you're playing covers, piano covers and everything. And then I feel like
Yeah.
there's this moment where like the kind of the you we know, I feel like really kind of started to come out, or really, I feel like you uncorked something. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. It's like I think it's all it's so this word it's so commonly used and now it's become like sort of a cliche almost. But for the lack of a better term, I say it's a journey because it's like it's all like experimentation and I frankly am still figuring out like what my thing is, you know? I want to try new things. Things that are like a little moving us away from my usual comical like kind of like almost like Charlie Chaplin kind of like side. I want to try more nuanced things, a bit more exploring different like way of expressing, not necessarily just through like comical ways. Um, but I think it just all changes with my personality at the time, which is always changing. You know, it's all reflective of who I am at that moment, and you know, it's it's almost like I grew as I grew so much as a person by just keep posting things on like social media or on YouTube because each and every time I would post something, it would almost be sort of like this like big self-reflection session where it's like, "Oh, I thought I was doing the right thing when I was making that content." But like I see it now like out there, posted out there and it's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of cringe." You know? So it's all like just through sheer like just volume of keep posting and keep posting. It's almost like um it's almost kind of like mm, it's like carving myself into me, into a version of myself that I feel I can resonate with. You know, does that make
No,
sense?
that's really fascinating. I love it. And
Yeah.
do you, do you feel like you're talking about when you post something, it kind of gives you this different perspective? So like,
Yes,
and that's very
sure.
different to just like if you wrote a note and had it in a notebook and never shared it. So
Yeah.
what's like that? What do you think it is? This is a bit of a philosophical conversation.
Oh, I
Uh,
love philosophical.
but what is it about like putting something out there that generates like that growth or that perspective?
I think there's this weird like detachment that comes from posting stuff. You know? I it's like it's almost I don't know if you feel the same way about music, but your piece of music, the music that you've created on your own in your studio feels different when it's like out there. When there's an audience listening to it, it feels like a different project almost. It kind of takes its own life and it's out there for other people to translate. And so you almost kind of become your own audience when you put your piece of work out there. So I think not only for music, but for videos and other pieces of content as well, for me, it's like it's one thing when I was creating it and another when it's out there. So it's like it's almost like when I post a video, I would be my own audience watching these videos alongside other audiences watching it. Um, so that becomes like this weird, like detached kind of self-evaluation form of self-evaluation. And sometimes I would resonate with myself, and sometimes I wouldn't. And that would give me a lesson maybe not to steer towards that kind of direction of approach. And it's like I'm theorizing it, but in reality, it's a lot more intuitive than it
Yeah,
sounds.
yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I feel cringe about myself, so I won't do it the next time, kind of thing. You know?
Um, I remember when we spoke last time, you said this thing that I thought was really profoundly insightful around like being aware of how you're feeling when you're listening to your own music or, you know, watching something you've made, and then kind of having a degree of detachment from that feeling. I think you cracked a bit of a joke. You said like it's kind of like my thoughts are so crazy, why would I listen to them? Or something like that. But you seem to display this like understanding of like observing your feelings and then observing yourself, observing your feelings, and even being able to understand, well, right now I'm in this particular state of mind. So I know that I'm perceiving my work through this filter in this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering like how that's developed like through the posting and everything as well, because I just know so many people, myself included, have really struggled with like how do we regularly share stuff, and I've wound up being really comfortable on Twitch because it feels like it's live and it vanishes, and that's not quite true. But you know, and that's helped me kind of start to use other platforms a little bit. But just I know you've got quite again, I know this is very intuitive for you still, but I also think you're quite sophisticated in terms of understanding how the intuition almost dovetails into strategy or something.
So I think it's actually, I'm saying this to myself as I say this to you almost. It's because it's something that I constantly have to find myself having to remind myself of, but I truly stand by it. It's that nobody really cares. Like, it's almost like very, in a very self-centered way. We're all like so into ourselves that we feel like what we post out there is gonna be like, oh, offend some people, or like is gonna leave a lasting impact in people's memories. But actually, in reality, it's not. It's like we all have our lives, we all have our individual lives, and we're all busy with our own stuff. So I think in a way, not feeling too precious about it, about posting and just shooting the shits and just trying different things, just trying new things constantly is really the best way to go about things. And look, I feel like I'm a perfectionist, and I know I don't seem like it, but I would just overthink about everything. Like every single post that I make, I would overthink, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I should not, like, I would post something and I'd be like, oh my god, I should not have used that extra exclamation point. Exclamation mark. I should not have used that extra exclamation. I should not have used that emoji. You know, like I overthink as well, but you know, I always try to go back to a place where, look, in a few weeks' time, maybe even less than that, this is just going to be in the past. Like, I know, like, things that you post on the internet is probably, like, is forever. They say that nothing is, you know, everything is permanent on the internet. And if you think about it, it is kind of scary. But also, there's also so much things on the internet that it is probably, like, what you post today is probably going to be, like, just, like, buried by all the other things you post later on, you know? So, and I think people are understanding, as long as you're not like actively trying to offend people in a post or something. People are going to be understanding of the changes, and people are going to be people are going to be adjusting the way with the way you change over time, which we all do. So, I think just like expecting change and knowing that even if you embarrass yourself right now with this single post or this video, you're going to change, and you know, you're going to be a different person. You're going to be posting different things in a few weeks time, few months time, few years time. So I think that's something that I try to remind myself.
Love that. That's amazing. And I'm curious, like you specifically mentioned, like you're a perfectionist, right? But yet you're still able to post things. So, you know, a lot of perfectionists can suffer from the like, I have to keep tweaking it, and they just tweak it and tweak it and tweak it and never share it. So do you have like a strategy to go like, perfectionist Sue, quiet, in order to actually share something or call it done?
Man, I don't know. I think it's just, hold on. I've got like a list of notes that I just read whenever I find myself being a perfectionist.
Okay.
Like just like it's just like really standard stuff like live now, learn, fail, grow, triumphant, triumph, repeat, like ride the wave of life, be bold, live now, feel now. And I have it's just reiterations of the same things. Just do it. Just live now, just do it. Don't be too precious. It's okay. Nobody cares. It's and I think for me, sometimes it's like there's that element of I'm gonna embarrass myself kind of thing if this video doesn't perform well enough, or I don't know, people don't comment enough. I don't know, like people don't listen to my music, people don't watch my videos. There's that concern. And I think that's, for me personally, that's like one of the big concerns before I post something, and what sometimes contributes to the triggering of my perfectionism. For me, I think I look up to people who just doesn't seem to give a shit. And there are people like that. And I don't know if they actually do give a shit in real life, in their personal kind of endeavors, but it seems like they don't give a shit sometimes. And I take a lot of inspiration from that. And I just try to tell myself that, like, just don't give a shit. Just do it. Just do it. And also, like, there's this philosophy where, like, I tell myself, if you're either proud of it or you gained a lot of joy from making this content, then that's enough reason for you to post it. If you're proud of it, just do it. Just post it. It doesn't matter what other people think, because you're proud of it, or you had a lot of fun. You just had a blast making it. So I think that's all the reasons you need to just post it out there, And I think people appreciate just not being super refined also. People actually appreciate that. And if you remind yourself that, I think that really helps as well. Like, just perfection doesn't exist, first of all. And also, if you are kind of close to it, there's this like sort of that level of like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't seem right, that kind of instinctive reaction when you see a piece of work that's like too beautiful, too refined, too perfect, too close to perfect, whatever. There's that like instinctive sense, I believe, as humans, where it's like, oh, okay, it's like really nice, but I don't know. I think that's really the true reasoning behind the rise of bedroom pop, genres like bedroom pop, where it's like, or lo-fi even, where it's like in standard, like in the traditional production standards, it's not great, it's not perfect, but it's still great music. It's still great stuff to listen to. It feels pleasant to your ears, and it's even more pleasant sometimes than like the super refined stuff. So I think I'd like to think that people appreciate some level of lo-finess, not just in music, but lo-finess in other things, like just being shitty sometimes. Damien, just be shitty.
Well,
you should just be shitty.
People will appreciate that about you.
Yeah. As long as you're not being a dick, Like, I think that's the thing. Like, don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. But, like, be a nice person. Like, come from a loving place.
Yeah.
But just be shitty sometimes. Just put out some shit music.